In this video, I'm covering the brand new light novels that are making their debut during the month of November of 2020. And if you are a follower of Kono light novel ga Sugoi, the Japanese yearly ranking of light novels, this is going to be a pretty big month for you. Hello everybody and welcome to this monthly video where I take a look at all of the brand new light novel series that are making their debut, this for the month of November 2020. If you want to check out all of the light novels that are going to be releasing this month, make sure you check out the link to EnglishLightNovels.com. I'll have that in the description down below, and there you can find not only all of the light novels that are going to be releasing, but also information on all of the light novels that are currently available in English. And if any of the light novels that I discuss in this video sound interesting to you, and you want to pick them up, I've got links in the description down below that you can do so. So starting off the month on November 7th, we have our first new release, which is coming from J Novel Club. This one called Fushi no Kami, Rebuilding Civilization Starts with a Village. Ash is a young boy with apparent past life memories who lives in a remote, deserted village. As he remembers leading a bountiful life, he can't bear living in a world akin to the Dark Ages, where not even the internal combustion engine exists. Ash envisions the rebirth of a civilization where housing with proper sanitation is the norm, and the world is connected via a means of transportation faster than horses. For that reason, he is eager to consult books containing knowledge from a highly developed ancient culture that is rumored to have existed far in the past. Ash makes use of the church's resources, learning how to read and obtaining the knowledge that he seeks. In addition, he enlists the help of the people around him, including Maika, the village chief's daughter. Together, they aim to develop their own village. This is only the beginning of the story about a young boy who sets out to revolutionize the world in order to rebuild civilization and create his ideal life. So I like the sound of this one, honestly. It sort of hits that whole like society cultural building thing, but at the same time it is taking a look at building that using existing ancient technology from this world that the main character finds himself in. It's not just a matter of him going, hey, you know, if we did this and this and this just like we do in Japan, everything would be hunky-dory. I kind of like the idea that he's trying to do this with technology that used to exist. There's sort of that element of, I kind of feel like there could be elements of like dungeon diving and stuff like that that are built into this whole thing. And then, of course, because they're only building a small village, it's kind of that, it gives me that sort of Sims, like Sim City feeling of it, that, you know, it's like we're doing these dives into the dungeons and we're going to find this stuff out. And I don't even know if that's what happens in the book, but sounds like it. And they kind of build things up. I think this would be cool. Like most of the other light novels where we have these kind of society becoming better via the knowledge of a person from modern day, it's often like large scale. It's more like kingdoms or, you know, conquered lands and stuff like that. I kind of like the idea that's more starting small scale and building up. I've actually heard some good things about this one from people who have checked it out on J Novel Club's website. If you're not aware, they post their light novels in parts that you can read. It's sort of like, almost like Crunchyroll basically with anime. But you have a monthly membership with them and then you can read all the light novels ahead of time, and then they do a bulk volume release for purchase later on. So yeah, I've heard some good stuff about this one, and it does sound kind of interesting. I'm hoping it takes kind of the dungeon diving route. That would be kind of cool, but I don't know if it does or not. On November 10th, and this one is also coming to us from J Novel Club, and that is I'll Never Set Foot in That House Again. Chelsea may be the eldest daughter of a baron, but her days are spent enduring both verbal and physical abuse from her mother and younger twin sister. However, upon skill appraisal on her 12th birthday, it's discovered that she has a never-before-seen skill, seed creation. Brought to the Royal Research Institute for the investigation of her new skill by the appraiser Glenn, Chelsea's life does a 180. A big room with personal maids, a warm, soft bed to sleep in, and delicious food to increase her mana pool. She's treated like a princess. But of course, her younger sister Margaret won't sit by quietly as Chelsea is pampered. Now this one is from the J-Novel Heart line, so a more shoujo-leaning light novel. Has that element of sort of Cinderella to it, and I am curious about just what lengths this twin sister is going to go to try and steal Chelsea's thunder. Like, I mean, she's a twin, so is she going to try and like kidnap her, switch places? Like, I could see all sorts of crazy, nefarious type schemes going on with this one. On November 17th, we get a couple of new releases from Yen On. One of them is the top-ranked tankobon from last year's Kono light novel ga Sugoi. It's also one that Frog-kun on Twitter, if you're not familiar with Frog, she actually writes for Anime News Network and has long been well regarded by the light novel community. She's been a very vocal supporter of light novels for a long time. In any case, this was one that she mentioned ages ago, even before it showed up on Kono light novel ga Sugoi. So I know a number of us that follow her were sort of like, oh, I want to check this out. She's making it sound so good. And then, bang, it's #1 on the tankobon list on Kono light novel ga Sugoi, pretty much cementing the fact that we all want to read it, which is Unnamed Memory. Love can bloom in the strangest places and people. A cursed king and the world's strongest witch are about to cross paths, forever changing their future and the fate of the world. I'm not going to get too deep into some of the things that have been said about this, other than that it is a very mature and well-written book, and that the relationship dynamic between the two main characters is incredibly engaging and very well done. So it just sounds like a really good book, and we've got adult characters, and if I will sort of put it out there, because it shows up in a lot of translated descriptions of the book, basically the king has been cursed that he can never have children, and so he's kind of seeking this witch's aid to kind of undo this curse. So it's kind of an adult book too, because, and I don't mean adult like chicka chicka bang bang, I mean like adult like, you know, characters who are adults actually kind of taking a look at their future and what they want to do and who they want to be and who they want to share it with. So I think this one sounds really great. As I said, it's gotten a lot of very good praise from knowledgeable people, and the cover is just like really beautiful too. So the artwork looks great. So I'm really, this is like one of my top wants for this month. Also on November 17th from Yen Press, Yen On, I wasn't sure whether to include this one because it's not even a spin-off per se, but it's a certain magical index, SS, which is the short stories. Kamijo Toma faces his roughest challenge yet, a classroom hot pot party. Meanwhile, in London, the women's dorm in a base of magicians may never see another day as wild as this one. And in the underbelly of Academy City, Accelerator stumbles upon someone who has been waiting for him all this time. Here begins the supplementary SS series of A Certain Magical Index. Originally published in Japan during the serialization of A Certain Magical Index, SS was the first spin-off, I don't know whether I call it spin-off, of the popular light novel series. The side stories featured in A Certain Magical Index SS are led by fan-favorite characters such as Toma, Hamazura, and Accelerator. Mainly this is notable because A Certain Magical Index, Yen On finished the first series a little while ago, and everybody was kind of wondering if that was it and they weren't going to pursue any more Index, and then they announced this. And if you're not familiar with Index, there's a whole second series, New Testament, and in fact, if I recall, there's a third series just beginning in Japan after New Testament. So there's like two big main follow-ups to Index that we do not have in English. And I know this one, when a lot of people saw it get picked up, we're like fingers crossed that if this does well, it's going to bridge into at least New Testament getting picked up. So I thought I'd throw it in here just because I know there's a lot of Index fans, and I know that they're very hopeful that this is just the first stepping stone to that next series. Finally, on November 17th, we got another one from Yen On, and this one is a novelization of a Makoto Shinkai film. Yen is pretty much picking up all of the direct adaptations of Makoto Shinkai's films and putting them out in single volume hardcover editions. This one is The Place Promised in Our Early Days. In the Soviet-occupied Japan of an alternate history, two childhood friends who have grown apart find each other again and begin a search for a missing third friend and possibly save the world in the process. It's Makoto Shinkai. If you've seen Your Name, Weathering with You, 5 centimeters per second, and whacked on others, then you pretty much know exactly what you're in for. Funny enough, I've never actually read a direct adaptation of Shinkai's works. I've only read the ones that are kind of like re-envisionings of the movies that Vertical has put out. So, I don't know, like, have any of you guys read these ones? What do you think? Are they worth reading if you've seen the movie? Do they give you sort of a new idea, a new take on it? Or is it pretty much just reading the film? On November 25th, this one comes to us from J Novel Club, and that is The Bloodline. After the fall of civilization, a hierarchical society was born, where blood determines everything. The rich steal both the blood and lifespans of the poor, rejoicing in their now eternal lives. Nagi is a commoner fated to die, while Saya is royalty, gifted with eternal youth. When fate brings their unlikely paths together, their innocent love set the gears in motion to tear down the walls of a society built upon tremendous inequality and racial discrimination. So, pretty heavy topics told in a Romeo and Juliet vampire story. That I mean, it sounds kind of cool, honestly. And what's interesting about this one as well is that it hasn't been published in Japan. It is a Japanese author who has published other works, and I don't know all the details about it, but basically, J Novel Club was approached, I think, by an editor of this author, and that person was kind of like, hey, would you put this out in English as a doorway for it to get more hype to get published in Japan? That's kind of what I have heard. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if this is just kind of a test to see what happens if unpublished works in Japan, but by known authors, whether they would do well in English. I really have no idea. Like, I don't know how different the markets are seen in terms of English and Japanese. Like, I mean, could an author who is accomplished write a book in Japan that the editors there would be like, I don't think this is going to do well in Japan, but we might be able to license to someone because it might do well in English. I wonder if that's kind of the thinking. I really don't know. I'd love to know more about the whole background of this thing, because it's just so interesting to me, because it's really not happened exactly this way. Like Cross Infinite World, which, funny enough, I'm about to speak about, they often directly deal with authors from like the Naru website. But as far as I understand, this is not exactly like that. So it'll be interesting to see just how this one turns out. On November 30th, and like I said, this is from Cross Infinite World, and it is Reincarnated as the Last of My Kind. A bicycle crashes into me one night, and the next thing I know, I'm a baby? Getting reincarnated in another world populated by humans, demi-humans, and mythical beasts is certainly not the turn I thought my life was going to take. I especially didn't expect to be carried off by a wolf and given into the care of a one-armed former knight. Now I'm trying to repay him by rebuilding the family inn and healing his arm with alchemy. But the more time passes, the more it becomes clear to me that I'm not actually human. So this one, it sounds very cute. I kind of, when we talked about this one before, I said, it sounds to me like the whole, if it isn't for my daughter, I'd even defeat a demon lord, before it got creepy. I'm hoping this one doesn't get creepy. I don't really foresee that happening, just the way that it's presented, but yeah, it's very much cute slice of life is what it kind of sounds like, fantasy slice of life. So again, I mean, Cross Infinite World has a definite lock on that sort of josei, shoujo light novels, and I kind of think this is going to sort of fit into that same vein. But again, I don't think it's going to go quite the romance side of things. At least I'm kind of hoping not, because it'd be really nice just to have a very sweet kind of light novel. And now finally, and I'm including this one because the last email I got from Yenon, which was just a couple days ago, said this was still slated for a November 24th release. However, Amazon is now saying that it's not coming out until December 1st. So I'm really not sure if it's going to be a November release or a December release. And even if it is a December release, it sounds like it's going to happen early enough in December that if I'm even a day late, I'm not going to get really much of a chance to talk about it. And I do want to talk about it because it, just like Unnamed Memory, is also a Kono light novel ga Sugoi winner from last year. Only in this case, it is the Bunkobon list that it was the top of, and that is Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Springtime at Kimberly Magic Academy. When new students begin their first year, one boy, clad in black robes, with a white cane and sword strapped to his hip, approaches the prestigious school. This young man, Oliver, must form a bond with a katana-wielding girl named Nanao if he's to survive the dangers he's to face at this school that is anything but what it seems. This one is actually written by the author of Alderamin on the Sky. And of course, as many of us have said before, we have never had Alderamin in English, and I know some of us were saying on the podcast when we were talking about new releases, where we were kind of like, I kind of hope that maybe this one will be a gateway for the author's other works. But we'll see. This one, like I said, also was the top of the Bunkobon list of Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, the last one last year. It's gotten lots of hype, again, like very well received. Sounds absolutely like bonkers in terms of like, they're like Harry Potter on acid, or I don't know, man. It sounds really wild, this book. Like, it sounds like a very heavy, like magical academy and swords and people fighting with their uterus. I don't know, man. Like, yes, somebody actually said that, and I don't know. I don't know. Nonetheless, it sounds super cool and definite one that I have been looking forward to checking out and reading. And I'm hoping that it actually comes out sooner rather than later. But I guess if we do have to wait an extra week, it's not the end of the world. So those are all the light novels making their debut in the month of November. Which titles are you excited about? Which ones are you definitely checking out? Were there any that maybe you weren't aware of before and now you're like, man, I want to read that book? Let me know in the comments down below. And like I said, if you want to order any of these ones, I'll also have links to those in the description of the video. And of course, there's that link to EnglishLightNovels.com if you want to see all the other light novels that are coming out in November. There are a whack ton of ongoing series that are getting new releases in the month. It is a really heavy month because, of course, we're coming up to the holiday season, which is always a big time for sales. So companies want to get their stuff out there. December's looking pretty heavy too, funny enough, with releases. But you know what? I'll be back to talk about those ones next month. For now, thank you so much for joining me in this video. And I look forward to seeing you in my next one, which will be a review because, you know, I only do these videos once a month. Until then, thanks so much. Bye-bye for now.